Hi there, Clare Winslow here, showing you another way to collage your gel prints using a couple of layers. I'm showing you an example of one here with the bird, and I'll show you how I did that. This is just a cutout bird, which I'm going to use for a mask, and I have some old gel prints that are textured, and I'm going to use that as a base. So it's just a nice way, a different way of using your gel prints in a new way to collage. And so I will show you how to do that. We're going to start with a shape, a mask. We're going to use that as a mask, and we're going to use that to cut out the bird shape from your gel print. And then we're going to layer it on top of some vintage paper. So the result is super cool. I think you're going to like it. Anyway, here I've got this bird shape. I believe it's a hummingbird. And I've decided where I want it, and I'm going to trace the outline of the bird with my pencil, and I'm going to have a I'm going to have a X-Acto knife nearby because I'm going to be cutting this out of the print. Again, these prints are cardstock prints. They're not thin copy paper prints, so that's important. You need to be using fairly thick paper for this to work. So once I've positioned the bird where I want it and I've sharpened my pencil, I'm going to simply trace the outline of the bird. And I've sped the camera up a little bit so that we don't need to see this in real time. But so once we have a nice outline on there, we're going to use our sharp X-Acto knife to cut out the bird shape. You could use scissors too, but the X-Acto knife is going to be a little bit more precise. So just as usual, be careful pointing your knife away from your hand. So here you have a nice bird on the left. We'll save that to use it for something else. We're mostly interested in the print that has the cutout shape. So once you have that, pick a paper that can go underneath. Here you see I have some vintage music paper. You could use another gel print if you like, that's more subtle. Anything can go underneath. I'm testing some vintage books. So vintage papers can be found on the internet, eBay, Etsy. There's lots of places to find them, or your local used bookstore. Anyway, I realized I had painted yellow on the one side, so I think I like that side better. So let's use that. And it looks good. So once you decide where you want it placed, settle on a position, and then you're going to trim out the paper underneath so that it's smaller than your top sheet. So here's where your X-Acto knife comes in handy, maybe a ruler. Just cut that down to size. And you can see that music sheet, it's pretty thin antique paper, but it should still work okay. Just be gentle with it. All right, so we're going to get our ruler, kind of make sure that that's smaller than the print on the top. And we are getting ready to glue these two sheets together. So once you have it where you want it, you'll be ready to do that. Sometimes I like to just make an indication of where that bottom sheet is going to go. So now we're at the gluing stage, and I've got what's called gel gloss medium, and it comes in a jar. That's on the left. And you could also use glue, but I find the gloss gel medium is a little bit better. And you're going to need a craft brush or some kind of fairly wide brush to use that you don't mind using for glue. I'm going to hold down my print on the back side, apply the gloss medium, gel medium. And gel medium is thicker than regular gloss medium, by the way, but it's very handy for collage. So apply a pretty generous layer of gel medium, and then you're going to simply place it on top of your bottom sheet. Make sure that sticks. And then we're going to want to burnish it so that they really stick together well. So I recommend one way is to use a wood spoon and a piece of tracing paper, or tissue paper and just go around everything, all the edges, the edges of the bird. Just make sure that that's really glued together very well. Because if you do not take time to do this step, you may end up with some buckling, and that doesn't look so good. Yes, make sure you catch those little corners, and you may find you need to add a little more glue, or a little more gloss gel medium, to some areas if they keep sticking up. So again, burnishing to make sure that's well done. Looks good. Now I'm going to give it some drying time though. All right, so I will put it under some heavy weights, save those birds for later, and I'll probably let it sit overnight just to make sure. So find some heavy books or paper, or whatever you want, to sit on top of it overnight, and then we'll see what we have in the morning. All right, so here we are the next day, taking off everything, and it looks good. It's nice and smooth and dry, and it is stuck together. So one could say, okay, I'm done. Or we can take it to the next level and actually trim out the edges. So, so the edges are clean. And then we're going to apply it to a piece of wood panel. This is an optional step that I like. You could, of course, just frame that by the way it is now, but I like to apply these prints sometimes to a wood panel. It's a nice presentation. So let's just trim it out using your ruler and sharp X-Acto. Looks nice. Not too much buckling. So I found a wood panel. I couldn't find a new one in my studio, but I found one. I found a wood panel that had an old image on it, so I decided to use that. And that's okay. I sanded it down a little bit so it will still work, and I'm going to apply the glue or the gel medium to it. There's the old image. And we will stick these together. So I want to make sure the print, the top part, matches the size of the wood, and it does. And then I'm going to get my brush ready again and apply a generous layer of the gel medium to the wood panel. And you don't need to be delicate here because you want it to be fairly thick. Don't worry about saving materials. Just if you get any glops, just fix that. And that looks pretty good. And then right away you're going to place the wood on the print if you like, or you can do it other way around. I like to put the print down sometimes and then match it up with the wood. The edges look good. You have to commit now because it's glued on there. And so the next step is burnishing again. So you can use your brayer. I'm showing you your brayer. Or if you like the wood spoon method, that's fine too. Just make sure it's very smooth. All right, once you've done that, it looks great. Just make sure all the little edges, little corners of the bird are looking good. If you see any buckling, that's because the vintage paper is a bit thin. So when it gets in contact with the gloss medium, it might wrinkle up a little bit. So try to smooth that down as best you can. And sometimes the corners will come up. So just take some time to glue those again. Yeah, this is a nice presentation on the wood panel, I think. You can even paint the sides of the wood panel if you like. Or you can leave it just bare wood. All right, that's looks good. I'm going to weigh it down again and let it sit for a few hours and then come back. We're almost at the home stretch now. Looks great. It's pretty smooth. I'm going to show you an optional step here. This is just something that you might want to try. I sometimes like to add wax to the surface of my gel prints or paintings. And what I'm doing here is I've applied the wax, I let it sit overnight, and then I burnish it with a soft paper towel. And what that does is it gives it a nice sheen. It is not a glossy surface. It's more of something in between. Oh, hello, kitty. It's something in between matte and gloss. And I really like that. It's kind of a softer look. So if you like that, I'll put that in the show notes, what I'm using here. It's called Dorlands Wax Medium. All right, this looks good to me. I think it's almost ready to hang on the wall. If you liked what we did here today, please watch my other videos on collaging gel prints. All right, and I'm burnishing some more. I guess I can't get enough burnishing. Let's see how this looks on the wall.